Homelessness, unemployment, and mental illness can all be consequences of drug abuse and drug addiction. By the title of this video, you can tell that that's what I'll be touching on today. First, I'm going to connect these issues together, and then after that, I'll explain how imprisoning these drug addicts actually makes all of these issues way worse on them. I will be explaining this to you by using evidence pulled from all of the sources listed below. The first issue I'm going to be touching on is homelessness. So, how can homelessness be a consequence of drug abuse and drug addiction? Well, it is very unfortunate, but it's also very common that when someone becomes addicted to drugs, they allow it to run their lives, and this leads to them spending all of their money on drugs. So because drug addicts tend to spend all of their money on drugs, they don't have anything to pay their rent, and this results in them ending up homeless. The next topic that I'm talking about is unemployment. When drugs begin to rule an addict's life, it is much more common for them to stop going to work because all they want to do all day is drugs. And if they actually do show up to their job, it is very possible that they'll get fired because they're high or they just don't have a good work ethic. Essentially, they allow their addiction to take over, and because of this, they are very likely to be jobless and unemployed. The final topic that I'll be connecting to drug abuse is mental illness. It is actually very common for a drug addict to begin using drugs because they are unable to cope with a mental illness that they already have. But it has also been proven that using drugs and abusing drugs can lead to many other mental illnesses like schizophrenia and depression and anxiety. So, after being presented with all this information, it is easier to understand how drug abuse can lead to this cascade of other issues in an individual's life, and that proposes the question of how do we solve this? Well, a lot of individuals believe that incarceration is the key to this. However, I am going to show you why it's not. And in order to explain this to you, I am going to show how incarceration actually worsens the previous issues we have already talked about. Okay, going back to the issue of homelessness, imagine this. There is a homeless man that is working towards finding a house to rent. But unfortunately, he gets in trouble with the law because he's carrying drugs. Because he's in trouble with the law and incarcerated, he now has a criminal record, and when he tries to find a place to live, all of the renters don't want to rent to him. This is a simple example of how incarceration worsens the issue of homelessness in an addict's life. On to unemployment. We're going to stick with the issue of having a criminal record. If an individual is incarcerated and obtains a criminal record, it makes it much, much harder on that person to find a job. On to the last issue, mental illness. I actually researched on this topic, and I found a great article that explained from a prisoner's point of view how terrible the conditions within prisons are for mental health. I also learned that many prisons are overcrowded and they don't have the resources to help those that are struggling with mental illness, so this is a huge issue. After presented with all of that information, it's very easy to see how all of these issues are correlated to one another, and it is also easy to understand how incarcerating these individuals doesn't benefit them in any way, and it doesn't help the issue at hand. So, with that being said, do you personally believe that incarcerating these individuals is the way to go? And if not, what solution may you propose? And as stated previously in the video, all of my sources are linked below, so feel free to go explore yourself. Thanks for listening. Bye.